essentially what we're trying to create is an end-to-end platform that enables you to capture data from the internet and then perform automated tasks on that data from the cloud. So the idea is that as a marketer or salesperson or researcher, there's like tons of manual tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis. You know, whether you're looking for prospects, whether you're trying to enrich this data, find contact details, whether you're running different types of audits, you're checking the tech stack, trying to find an icebreaker when you're getting in touch with people, or you know, if you're in a marketing team and you're doing SEO or you're doing some form of, say, web development, and you want to make sure that pages are rendering correctly, or you want to check like other meta tags, you want to run different types of audits. The idea is that there are loads of tasks that you tend to do on a manual basis, which are time consuming. So the core idea with Hexomatic is the internet is like a gold mine of info. You can use it to find prospects. You can use it to find potential leads. You can use it to get different types of products that you could be selling. You can capture like product catalogs, etc. You also have loads of cloud services. Things like Google AI that enables you to label images, perform translations. You can get a wide range of different services that are usually disconnected. So our idea is, okay, you can capture data from any website. You can run tasks using third-party services, and then you can perform work tasks on that data, and then have a final output. And so it's essentially the problem of Zapier. Now, I love Zapier, but Zapier is a pretty big beast to make the most of, because Zapier enables you, for example, to connect to loads of different apps as a data connector. But in order to do it, you need to have some technical knowledge, you need to play with APIs, and you need to sort of integrate things together. And what we found was with Hexomatic, we had a similar problem. We provided a blank canvas for people to use. And so, they can create their own scraping recipes, they can use different automations, they can create their own workflows. But what we were missing was a way of saying, okay, if you want to do this particular use case, run that. So what we created was a workflow library. And as you say, so you can pick from different use cases or scenarios. So for example, get me the backlinks of competing websites for like the top 10 of Google, or this is our workflow library. So essentially, these are ready-made workflows that our team has put together. And in order to make use of it, you simply click it, put in your, your starting point. So for example, in this case, you put like a URL, and then Hexomatic does the rest. So we're trying to abstract away the complexity of doing certain tasks. And these are the type of use cases that our users have been asking for, and that we've been trying to make tutorials for. But we thought, what's better than a tutorial? Actually having something that is ready to run. Yeah, so we have two types of automations. We have 40 built-in automations, which use the standard credits that you get in the plan. And we have premium automations, which use either third-party services or which are managed by the team. So what we've tried to do is the workflow library tends to use the built-in automations, but there's also some which use the premium ones. So the idea with sort of premium and normal automations is simply that there are certain things that use third parties. So for example, Google AI services like transcription, OCR, text-to-speech, image labeling, image safety detection. These types of things use sort of third-party services that are built into Hexomatic. So what we've tried to do is we create the platform that enables you to plug in all these different things. And we also provide like an Amazon Prime type additional subscription where you for pennies on the dollar, you can get access to these wide range of different services. So when you're, for example, scraping websites, you tend to, if the website has advanced countermeasures, you typically need to use a residential proxy. Problem is, these are quite expensive. I mean, they range between $60 and $300 a month. The average user who wants to just, scrape, one website today in a project, they're not going to want to subscribe to $300 worth of residential proxies just to do this one thing. So we thought, okay, why don't we create something where you can use, for example, residential proxies on a per-use basis. And because we're using like premium credits, we can make it start at like $4.99. So for $4.99, you get to use this super expensive service on a usage basis. So you do one project, that's fine. That costs you maybe $2. So same with the other services. Like for example, you could subscribe for $30 a month for DeepL translations, or you could spend a few cents using our automation based on the amount of words you want to translate. So we try to do that with third-party services. So right now we have access to AI services. So for example, Google has some awesome tech with regards to AI. We're talking about like being able to recognize what images contain, being able to recognize whether an image is violent or contains profanity or is not applicable to minors. So if you're like in an industry where you need to check like images which are provided by the community, or you want to do an analysis of, for example, a website and check to see if images are compliant, you could use that, for example, and save a ton of time. And there's no need to play around with APIs or programming and that kind of stuff. In terms of the other premium automations, we're talking about things like, say there's a Google automation. So instead of, you can create your own Google scraping recipe, or we have one which our team manages. So whenever there's a change in Google search result listings or in Google Maps, it's all taken care of. So you don't have to worry about it. And it only costs like a few cents per search. So it's again, super cheap. It's pretty unique. So there are situations where you can't scrape via machine. There might be some technical limitations, or there are things that only a human can basically do. So for example, you want to do some research on, say, SEO agencies. You might have a list of, you might use Google and say, okay, SEO agency in LA, and that'll give you a set of search results. But how do you know if they're a purebred SEO agency, or are they a digital marketing agency, or are they something else? Or is this a blog post about SEO agencies? What you can do is you can tap into our team and to basically do the reconnaissance for you. So with our crowdsourced automations, what we've done is you can essentially tap into a human person to either do the scraping part or to assess whatever that page is. Essentially, it's like having a VA that works on a task basis within an existing workflow. Every time you make a page request, it's typically with a different IP. And we have a lot of IPs in the system. There's very little chance of a third-party platform detecting that it's the same person doing the request. But what might happen is that data center proxies, essentially what it means is that they are getting their IP addresses from a subnet which belongs to a hosting provider, right? So this hosting provider might be AWS, it might be Google, it might be the different sort of hosting platforms out there, DigitalOcean, etc. So the way it can be detected is more in terms of the origin of the IP, but not the platform that's making the request, if that makes sense. So typically, websites which use advanced countermeasures they can see that, okay, this IP belongs to AWS, or this IP belongs to DigitalOcean, even if you've used like 1 million different IP addresses. Where residential proxies come in is that they use residential broadband providers as the source of the connection. So instead of it being, for example, OVH, this is going to be, for example, Cricket or AT&T or T-Mobile or like a mobile provider, right? So this is how they can detect whether it's data center or not. In terms of precautions, there's nothing a user needs to do really in Hexomatic, because we stagger the requests, and also they are spread like through a very wide, varied range of IP addresses.
So the differences between the silver and gold plan is right now the API is the biggest one, and apart from that, the simultaneous running workflow. Like with silver, we get only 10 parallel running of the processes where it's like unlimited, and the credit quota for different things. Other than that, all the things are same, right?
Yeah, gold plan is stackable. So if you need more than 10,000 credits, you can really recommend trying the full experience for yourselves, and to get a feel of what we're doing. And if it doesn't suit you, fine, just refund. There's really no problem there. But I think it's important to give it a try, because we're trying something a bit new here, and it's not a cheaper version of something that already exists. It's a new type of concept, and sometimes what we find is that pre-sale folks who don't know us, they ask us certain questions, and then when we talk to existing customers, they're like, yeah, once I used it, it clicked. Like I understood what it was about. So for example, right now we can do spelling, grammar checks. We can check for broken links. We can get SEO meta tags on pages. And you can basically use this inside your workflow on top of other data. So this is useful, for example, when you're doing a prospecting report and you want to say, okay, I noticed 4 spelling mistakes on your website. Here's a screenshot showing the different mistakes. Do you have a time for a quick chat tomorrow to discuss, potential copywriting ideas or things that could add value to your business? Accessibility audits. So right now, different states and different countries are really tackling disability accessibility. It's going to become much more expensive in terms of fines if your website is not accessible to people who have specific disabilities. So what we plan to do is to have an audit which you can include inside workflow that will check for major issues and then summarize the findings. And it's an SEO audit for on-page issues. So the idea again is that you could take, for example, the top 100 or top 10 results in Google, and then perform an SEO audit on the landing page from the search results, or even do like a full site-wide audit. And this would be included inside your workflow. Other things that we are working on, integrations, like for example with Zapier, with Adly, thinking about how we can bring data in and pull data out of Hexomatic to make it even more flexible. Essentially, we're focusing on not necessarily trying to fit as many features as possible, but trying to create end-to-end workflows, marketplace where smart folks who are like technically minded are able to create scraping recipes and automations, and being able to either share them with the community or find a way of getting revenue from it. Right now, we have to take baby steps, and we have to create the foundation. We have to create the automations. We have to create the tools that our creators can then use to build stuff. And then that will open things up even more. A big thank you, and a big thank you to our existing customers who support us. Because I mean, if we look at the way we've developed our products, it's all been feature requests and understanding what our customers want and their ideas and their suggestions and their pain points, and being able to have the support of our existing customers and be essentially beta testers, and they were when we first launched Hexomatic. We couldn't have done it without our amazing existing customers, which were beta testers. It's difficult to create something from scratch, and to be able to have the support and to be able to polish things and to be able to make it better week by week, it's awesome. So a big thank you to you guys, to the community, and you guys rock. Thank you.